Your media, where you are.
Do you sometimes feel a compelled connection to somebody and you just feel like you're attached to this person and you can't let it go? Because energetic cords, they flow within us. An energetic cord is a structure made up in your energetic body that can be expelled and released onto a subject. And a subject being a person, a thing, a home, an animal. You get what I mean, right? Today, we are diving into those bonds and ties created energetically. Soul ties. So you better stick around. Shalom, my soul family. What up? I'm so excited to have you with me today. Thank you so much for taking your time and data to watch and join the show. I'm so happy and delighted to be back with you once again here at Your Media. My name is Phumpie Munonde. And if you are new here, I don't know what you've been doing with your life, but it's fine because you're here. This is the Spiritual Bar. The Spiritual Bar is a safe space for us to cultivate and find our healing and spiritual awakening all through everything: holistic wellness, spiritual development, law of attraction, everything that brings us closer to God. Because you know why? The intention is ascension, vibrate higher through shalom. I'm so excited for today's episode because we're diving into soul ties, which is a conversation been wanting to have for the longest time with my lovely guest today. So to help me dive into this conversation, I have a lovely Rose. She's as gorgeous as the first flowers of spring and warms my soul like a delicious cup of tea. And she's also the face behind a Christian-based clothing brand. Her name is Reicey. Please help me welcome her to the studio.
You're too
Hello,
kind. You are
Reicey.
so kind. What a beautiful introduction.
You deserve it. You deserve so much more.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. You know, we've been planning this for the longest of times.
Right,
So,
right.
It's amazing to finally be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so thankful.
Same.
So for those who may not know, just give us a little background on who Reicey is and your brand, Risen. What do you guys do?
Okay, so Risen was created as a clothing brand. It is a clothing brand that represents Christianity as a whole. The reason it was created was we understand that throughout the youth, you know, younger generation of people, there's some sort of stigma, some sort of embarrassment, some sort of shame where they can't openly, you know, express their love for God because, you know, there's always the voices from the outside whispering that that's boring, that it's not as fun, you know, being, you know, a part of a church than being a part of a gang or being a part of a crew or being a part of, you know, partying and drugs and, you know, not being like, not everybody wants to stay sober because it's like, it's not fun, you know. And when Risen was created as a clothing brand, the whole idea was to break that stigma because it's absolutely okay. It's fun being sober.
Right.
It's amazing being in the presence of God. It is a beautiful thing to, you know, fellowship, to be with other believers. So why would you choose to be rejected, you know, by people who prefer to party then when you can be accepted by your own? So I think, you know, by like wearing that on a hoodie, wearing that on a t-shirt, it allows you, you know, to also identify the other believers that you can relate to. I mean, like, friend. But yeah, that was the reason for Risen. It was created to firstly spread the gospel, secondly, you know, break that shame, be open about who you are, what your beliefs are.
I love that. I think it's so beautiful and encouraging because everybody's spiritual journey is different.
Exactly.
And it's not linear. Yours will never be the same as mine. How I experience God in my life is not the same as the next person. And it is okay. It is okay to go through your journey unashamedly so. So I am such a stan of you.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
So soul ties. We have so much that we want to talk about today. So we might as well just get right into it. In your experience or in your own words, what would you say are soul ties? Is a soul tie?
So soul ties, you know, like we discussed off stage, it is a very broad topic. It's a completely broad topic. So we'll start like on basic grounds. So firstly, I think to fully understand what a soul tie is, you need to understand that it is an exchange of energy. A lot of people always relate soul ties to sex, which is one form of a connection.
Right.
It is one form of a connection. What happens is God intended sex to be, for a man and wife. It was a covenant. So what you basically do when you get involved with somebody on that intimate level, you're giving yourself to that person. And that's when the exchange of energy takes place, right? Because the Bible says that the man and woman shall become one. So that's how the connection forms. That's the formation of that connection.
Exactly. And on that point, you're totally right, because during intercourse, there is a hormone excreted called oxytocin that's called the bonding hormone, and that is what leaves a person feeling attached to somebody. So that's soul ties, like you said, the energetic transfer and brought about from an emotional intimacy or a spiritual connection that was physical in a sexual manner is one of the biggest 100%. Ways.
Then there's also the wording, what you confess with your mouth. People in relationships, people in relationships, you feel like very clingy in the beginning, and you're like, oh, I can't live without you.
It's cute.
It's so cute. Yes, it is cute, but you're gonna suffer those consequences when you separate from this person, because what you've done is you've confessed into the universe. You've spoken from your mouth that you will not be able to live without this person.
Exactly.
So now you struggle. You sit with the soul tie, and not being around this person, you feel incomplete and you struggle. And there's so many women across earth who are suffering attached to one person that they thought they could just simply leave in the past, which is not possible. You need to go through deliverance courses if needed. It's bigger than people think.
It's bigger than what people think. It's definitely a big life. And I love what you touched on when you say what you say coming into a relationship. And I think it applies with any type of relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, friendship,
100%.
familial relationship. What you say will manifest. It will be what you believe, and it will be your reality. So if you are thinking, I can't live without this person, you complete me, you're my everything, stop that. Let's be very careful with the words that we choose.
100%.
Right? And you mentioned that soul ties is beyond just sex. So what other ways can a person get a soul tie or a soul connection?
I think, like I said, what you confess with your mouth is also another aspect, because what happens is you've convinced yourself to believe something now. You think that if you, for whatever reason, have this person no longer in your life, your world is going to fall apart. And that is a terrible place to be in. And then I also think that by doing this, by overvaluing, or not overvaluing, but putting any friendship, any relationship before God, you prioritize that, and then your focus has drifted. So naturally, everybody who suffers with the soul tie, they do call on to God, but you don't know exactly what to ask God for, because a lot of people are not even familiar with the term soul tie. So they don't even know. All they know is they're feeling incomplete. They're struggling to, let go of a friendship. They're struggling to forget an ex-partner. There's different stages to the soul tie that affects people in so many different ways.
I love that. It's information that we are not necessarily taught, coming up, and it's so vital for the relationships that we create, because like you said, there can be moments where you feel like, oh my gosh, who am I even without Reese? Who am I without this person in my life? And that right there, that attachment to being like, okay, if I'm not with you, I'm not sure who I am. I don't know who I am, because I've created an attachment to my identity that is connected to you. And this can be even with family, right? Like, I'm nothing without my mother or my father or a sibling. Or even friends, right? And you get so attached to what your family says about you, what your family says you need to do in your life. You can't even make one decision without consulting anybody in your life. Those are certain energetic cords that we sort of create ourselves, because we are searching for that completeness, because we are searching for that wholeness that can only come from the Most High. But we're looking for it in things, in objects, in people, or in sex. And there's this one sermon by Pastor Michael Todd and he was talking about, I think it's called Lay with Fire, correctively speaking. Yeah. And he was speaking on sex as well, and how God created sex. Sex is meant to be a beautiful thing, like you said earlier on, between a man, woman, husband, wife, and we as humans have perverted it so much. Yeah. We've perverted it, and I believe that sex is meant to be a spiritual form of worship to God, when done right, when happening in the right circumstances and all of that. And we've perverted it so much that we don't even know the truth about it. We don't teach the truth about sexual relations. You know, you can be told, okay, you can get a disease from somebody, or you can get pregnant, but these deeper things that you're taking from that person when you have premature sexual relation with somebody, everything that you have, everything you are is now going to be exchanged with me.
Exactly. And
Right?
what happens is, you know, on all your good habits and, you know, all the good things that come with you, is it really worth just giving it over to just anybody? You know, God has blessed you. And now, not only that, now you're developing, you know, other people's personalities, you know, especially for like the people who don't think anything of it, who can lay everywhere. You know, that's a dangerous game to be playing, because the more you're giving over to other people, the more of yourself you're losing. Right. And you start picking up on everybody else's personalities. In the end, that's why people, you know, they struggle. They're like, I don't even know who I am. I'm just confused. I'm lost. Unfortunately, these are spirits that were transferred over.
Exactly. Okay, so Reece, just to clarify to people, how do you know when you have a soul tie? So in my view, I think when you feel spiritually off balance, if somebody has come into your life and you just met them, and perhaps your behavior starts to change. Maybe you're just constantly angry all the time, and you're just like, why am I just always so angry? Why is everything ticking me off now? It could be because of that person that just came into your life that you're spending all your time with, and perhaps doing things that you shouldn't necessarily be doing with them. And you feel off balance, or you feel like, the things that were happening in my partner, my boyfriend, whoever's life is now, everything is happening in my life now. How did I get all of that? Like, all of that is now transferred to me, right?
So I think, you know yourself. You know how God has created you. You know yourself. You know, between God and yourself, you are the person who knows everything about yourself. And you know when things are starting to change. When you're sitting randomly and now you have a perverse thought. You know, like, that's not mine. You know, or you start to have these insecurities that you didn't have before. You're like, okay, this is not mine. You know, you start to pick up on things, habits. You know, suddenly you don't close the fridge. You know, like basic things. You know things about yourself. And then when you start to notice that these things are changing, you know, these things are deeper than like the surface. You know, these are like habits. These are suddenly the way you think, suddenly the way you speak, the way you act around people, your respect is dropping, or, you know, these things get carried over in that way. So I think,
exactly.
So I think those are some of the ways you can identify, you know, look, this is not me. This is, I've picked this up somewhere. You know, I mean, spirits get attached to you all the time. You go to the wrong places.
And we are spiritual beings to begin with. And we are all connected to begin 100%. With. So that's why it's so easy, I believe, for you to get somebody else's energies, to get somebody else's vibrations onto you now.
Yeah, exactly.
And people think it's just fickle transaction. There's somebody I once had a conversation with, and they were telling me about a soul tie that they were struggling with, a person that they were in a relationship with, and they had intercourse with this person. And then all of a sudden, all this person's dreams were coming true in the other person's life, and nothing was working out for them. And they were conversing with me and telling me how they find it so odd. And I'm like, how much time did you spend with this person? How much do you think you've transferred onto this person? It's not rocket science that all of your inhibitions and the things that you've been wanting to achieve has now poured out onto somebody else. So that's the thing. I think that there's positive and negative energetic transfers, right? So you can take on the negative things. Excuse me. You can take on the negative things from somebody, but you can also take on positive things. Because with some people, you'll hear they say that, but this person, I can't live without them because my life has become so good. Because now I can't see myself without them, because whenever I am with them, I feel like, I'm elevated and I get all these ideas. They spark me up. It's a spark. It's that connection.
Yeah, but I feel like that's also a really dangerous place to be in, because that's great until the person is no longer there. So does that mean you what's gonna happen now? You're gonna drop because now you're not elevating anymore. The person is not in your life anymore. What does this mean for you? So I feel like it's great to have, really good positive relationships with people.
Yeah.
But I feel like the moment this person is before God, this is where you're going to start creating a problem for yourself. And you may not see it now because they're still in your life now. But what happens when they're not?
Yes.
What do you fall back on now?
Yes.
So, yeah.
100%. It's been 100%. It's all about bringing your 100%. Guys, we're not 50-50 nothing. You must be 100%. So you must know yourself. Exactly. Nobody else should be pouring into you except the Almighty. I believe that's 100%. My opinion.
I mean, if you're staying rooted on your own, nothing that happens is going to affect you.
Yeah.
You'll stay grounded. And that's fine because, God is never going to leave us nor forsake us. So that's one thing we can trust to never change. Whereas people are constantly changing. I could hurt your feelings by saying something, the wrong way.
Right.
Something that I honestly just genuinely wanted to bring to your attention. My tone could have threw you off. And now what happens? A grudge is built.
Enemy number one.
Exactly. So
it begs the question. Okay, so somebody watching this right now saying, yeah, I can relate. Yeah, I feel that way about this person. So then what do I do? What do I do if I've taken on some negative energetic transfers in my life? How do I break off these soul ties that I may be bound to?
So because it is a spiritual thing, naturally you'd have to go into the spiritual world to deal with it.
Right.
It's not something that anybody can come to you with and say, yeah, drink this. This will solve all your problems. I mean, you could, but really. So naturally, I think you'd have to go to the source.
Right.
You're going to have to go to God and you're going to be like, Lord, firstly, I repent for what I've done. I repent for, putting this person on a pedestal that they shouldn't have been
idolizing
on.
People.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think that will be your first stage. And then open, God knows you, just go to him with an open heart, a genuine heart, and be like, Lord, I am sorry. I did this to myself, but I need you to fix it, And then you go into that, and then God can heal you, You start prioritizing yourself again. Let God rebuild you. And then what happens is you get filled with spirituality again, but you've got to make sure that you're not going to go and give that away again, Because yes, God is merciful and he's graceful and he's going to keep restoring you. But I mean, grace does run out.
Yeah.
If God can see that you are constantly putting yourself in the same situation, it causes a problem for you,
Yeah, I definitely love that. So, coming to the source with a prayer and a clean heart to turn away from perhaps the lifestyle you may have been living, just taking on everybody's energies and passing around all your energies is very important. And I think you also mentioned something else earlier, knowing yourself, knowing yourself and allowing only one thing to fill you up, to be influenced by the person that created you, guys. Let's just take it there. I think also in my experience, intentively meditating on this, intentively putting your faith to work, because it's one thing to just pray on something and expect a magical fix. There's no magical fix. You also have to get yourself up and learn yourself again and do the things that are not going to be repetitive of your past life. Do the things to lead you to the person you know and believe you're created to be, right? And even with doing so, I think self-love, that's where it comes in, self-love and self-care. So things like I believe in things like taking cleansing baths with salt, because water is a healing element and it's from God. It's natural element. So I'm not saying now sitting in that bathtub is going to eradicate
Solve the
everything, but it's a
problem.
combination of everything. It's a combination of that faith work, from the prayer that you said, meditating on it. And I think another practical thing that might help people is, if you feel you are a little bit dangerously or compelled in this attachment to somebody else, perhaps an ex or a current or a friend or a family member, I think if you also write out a letter, you don't have to give it to them, express all your views, all your opinions on the good things, the bad things of your relationship with them, and give this letter to the Most High and release. It's a physical release of what is happening within you and spiritually. I think that also helps to physically do something to motivate you to continue in the spiritual realm, because I love what you said, that everything starts off in the spirit world before it transcends down, as above so below, right? Before it transcends down to the earth. And yeah, I think actively putting that faith to work by doing things, not just sitting around.
Yeah, and I think also, surrounding yourself with the right type of people it's vital, because if you believe that you are struggling with the soul tie and now you go deeper into your spirituality, but you're still around people who don't even believe or know what's going on in the spiritual realm, you're gonna feel lost. You're not even gonna be sure. You're gonna start doubting yourself, and how do you fix a problem if you're not 100% sure that's the problem? So I think also who you surround yourself with, like somebody to encourage you, somebody to be there to pray for you. So it's so important to have friends who intercede for you, where they also go before God and they're like, I need your help for my friend, she's struggling.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to fast, my loves. Don't be afraid to fast. Fasting is not just I'm starving myself of the food. Fast off of certain friends, certain sites that you're visiting that you shouldn't be visiting, things that are just moving you backwards instead of forwards, right? And you don't need to wait for the entire, church system to be fasting to tell you when to fast. Sometimes trust your intuition. As much as you mentioned, grace is sufficient, but you must also know yourself. Trust that intuition. It will never derail you. Spiritual deliverance is always there for us to take if we want it, and our faith work needs to match up with the belief and intention that we put into things, right?
100%.
As we mentioned earlier, like soul ties, we can go so much in depth. I feel like every single point has another segue to another point that we can go into. But I know we spoke about having a part 2 to this that we're going to stick to, perhaps even a live session. We don't know. Stay tuned, guys. But is there any final words or gems you would like to give out to the viewers?
So what I would suggest is, the deeper you grow spiritually, the more the Holy Spirit will convict you. And that is a fact. So I think, learning how to prioritize God, building a relationship with Him, He'll put you in the right places with the right people at the right time. You and I can agree that this,
right,
we've been put on each other's path, and
exactly.
I believe that was for a reason, and this may be the reason. You don't know how many females needed to hear this episode, how many people are struggling with things, and this will give them a little bit more of an insight to it. So what I would strongly suggest, whoever is watching this, that you build your relationship with God. Build your relationship with God and learn how to make Him the foundation of everything. That way you cannot be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
I love that. I think that's like absolute best advice. Absolutely best advice. And I love how you use us as an example, because the stars truly aligned. When you 100%. Came to me with this topic, I'm like, yes, we need to do this. Yeah, and look at how it manifested, right?
Yeah,
right?
It was like, can we please touch on the subject of soul ties? I feel like so many people, because I know among my friend circle, there were a lot of, a lot of my friends that I managed to help, through these soul ties. And when I realized that was happening, I was like, so many other females are going to need this advice.
100%. Kings and queens. And I believe we gave quite a bit. I really hope it brought more meaning and depth to your life, honestly. And you know what? as Reese mentioned, know yourself and do your research. Do your research, learn more about the soul ties, because soul ties are a thing. Energy is a thing. As much as you cannot see it, you also can't see electricity moving, but electricity is working
or
to
oxygen.
keep the lights on, or oxygen. It's the same thing with energy, and it's a real thing. And those emotional ties can become bounds that lead your life, and you don't want your life led on anything other than what your creator has told you.
Amen.
On that note, of course, I leave you with the consider this moment, which is a quote from Alexandra L. It says, souls connect, souls tie, intertwine humbly and with care. I really, really hope that your cup continues to overflow, and remember to keep it locked onto your media and, of course, at Phumpie on social media for everyday interaction. We're definitely going to dive more into this topic going forward. I'm super delighted that you stay tuned to the end of the show. And from me, don't forget, the intention is ascension, vibrate higher through shalom all the time. Sending you lots of love and shalom.